Welcome to Lunch with a Leader. We are so excited that y'all are here with us today. As y'all are digging into lunch, can we give a huge hand to Andy Duncan and our Ackworth Chick-fil-A team? They're such a great partner, and I know many of you are like me. You don't just see them once a month on Mondays. You see them about 4 times a week. So we love getting to partner with them, and we're so excited that you are here with us today as we are getting to continue in a discussion and a topic that we have been in for the entirety of this semester. So as y'all are eating, as we begin to prepare our time together, I would love for us to discuss this question around your tables. Why is control such a struggle for leaders? Why is control such a struggle for leaders? You guys talk about it, and then we are going to get going with our afternoon.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. If I've never met you before, my name is Mike. It's an honor to welcome you here to North Star for our last Lunch with a Leader for the spring of 2022. So this is just put it maybe in our arms to get our arms around what's happened. So we started January. We actually did a little forerunner to Lunch with a Leader in December 2017. Then we officially launched in January of 2018. Since 2018, We've been 4.5 years now. We've been at Lunch with the Leader. We've had one friend who has been a part of every Lunch with the Leader, and that's Chick-fil-A. So let me tell you what Andy and his team have done. We took a year off without meeting. Of course, we were all on video. His team, the best of our calculations, they've served over 4,000 lunches since 2018. Would y'all thank Andy and his amazing Chick-fil-A team? Needless to say, we couldn't do it without them. And they have been a friend. Does anybody else have perfect attendance? I didn't think so, nor have you provided lunch, all right? And so, but we're really, really glad everybody's here. And today's gonna be fun because today we're gonna talk about something that every leader, no matter the space that you lead in, you all deal with. So let's just break down the room a little bit as I'm looking out. I'm trying to figure out everybody's occupations. How many of y'all are in the business world? Raise your hand if you're in just business. All right, good number of y'all. How many of you guys, and I see a lot of realtors in here, how many of y'all are in the real estate business? Good number of real estate folks. How many of y'all are in the school world? All right, you're in education. How many of y'all are about to send kids home for summer? All right, there we go. That's what very excited to get their hands up. How many of you guys are in local city government? Good number of folks. How many of y'all are in police? Raise your hand. All right. Private ministry. We got a lot of FCA. Raise your hand if y'all are FCA, nonprofit. Got a nonprofit over there. And how many of y'all are in the church world? Good. All right. So in this room, you've got all kinds of people in leadership, which it means we all do very different tasks. But one thing we have in common is we have to learn to delegate. We ask a question around the table. Why do leaders struggle with control? I want you to write this little quote down. It's going to set off our day. It's not in your outline, but I think it'll be helpful. Dr. Sam Chand, who's one of my favorite leaders, he said it like this: the more you control, the less you will grow. The more you control, the less you will grow. The more you feel responsible for putting your arms around and on top of, the less you'll really grow as a leader because you limit your growth. John Maxwell said, you become the lid, right? When you choose not to delegate, you actually, by feeling like you have to do more, you actually cause the organization to hit a lid because you can only do so much, right? So let's just make sure we're all on the same field. How many of you at some point in your leadership career, in what you do, have struggled with delegating because you like being in control? Raise your hand. All right. Tell me what drives that. What would you say? Somebody that raised their hand, which was almost everybody. All right. What drives that for you? Yes, sir. It's easier to do than show. Agreed. What else? What's another reason we struggle with it? Fear it won't get done. How? Right, my way, that's right. How many of y'all just think you can do it better, right? I mean, we just feel like, well, I mean, I've done it. And we were having a conversation at our table earlier. You got where you are because you're a doer, right? You didn't get there because somebody just gave it to you. You got there because you were a doer. But the deal is, what gets us there doesn't mean that's what's gonna help us grow there. Okay, this art of delegation, it is an art. John Maxwell said it this way: if you want to do a few small things right, do them yourself. But if you want to do great things and make an impact, learn to delegate. It's right there in your outline, learn to delegate. So I want you to write a little note in right here at the top as we get ready to get going today. And the note is, no one person could have accomplished the work of repairing the walls and restoring the gates. Nehemiah's vision couldn't have been accomplished without delegation. So this character that we're in is one of the all-timer leaders. I mean, he's the guy. He's the guy that showed us how to get it done, because Nehemiah did not have the ability to do it himself. He was a cupbearer to the king. He did not have a construction background. Nehemiah really didn't bring a lot to the table other than burden and vision, But Nehemiah knew the task was too big to accomplish himself. So I want you to pop this picture up. This is a picture of what they think the wall looked like in Nehemiah's time that these people built, all right? Get this, it was 2 miles long, enclosed about 90 acres. So this is not small. It was divided into 42 sections, averaged 250 feet. He named 10 gates, several towers, other landmarks, and he described the north on the north wall first, then the western wall, southern point, and finally the eastern wall. 38 workers individually are named in the chapter. Nehemiah mentioned rulers and priests, men and women, professional craftsmen, even people from outside the city. There was a place for everyone and a job for everyone to do. Nehemiah wanted these walls to go up. Why? What was his ultimate goal getting the walls up? Why did he want to do it? To protect the city. He ultimately wanted to protect the city because the city of Jerusalem was where they believed the glory of the Lord was. So it was his way of honoring the Lord. When there are no walls, people can come and go from the city. But because there's walls, so Nehemiah has a burden. Nehemiah has a vision. Nehemiah investigates. Nehemiah has a drive. But Nehemiah was a smart leader. He said, I can't do this by myself. There's no way I can do it by myself. Today, rather than just reading chapter 3, because literally all chapter 3 is names that I can't pronounce, and I don't want to hear you make fun of me, all right? And so that's all chapter 3 is. But what's enclosed in chapter 3 is the story of one of the greatest pictures of a leader who delegated, and not just delegated, they got it done. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Would you pray with me? At the table you're at today, I just want you to ask the Lord for you to show you where you are in this thought of delegation. Just say, God, show me where I'm at. We've all got blind spots. Then I want you to pray a really, really dangerous prayer, and the prayer is this. God, if there's something I need to change, give me the courage to change it. Father, in this room today, you've assembled some of the brightest and the best, from school administration to business to government, to our safety in our communities, to the people on mission to carry out the news of who you are through their ministries. But God, all of us reach the end of ourselves. All of us reach a place where we can't, and there's somebody you send that can. God, may today we see what we could do if we're willing to do it in and through others. So God, speak to us, teach us, and show us. And Father, I pray this now in Jesus' name, amen. So let's dive in our outlines today. And I think today we've got some great guests I think are gonna help us out a ton. Top 3 reasons we resist delegating. Reason number 1, perfectionism. We want it to be perfect. Now, yes or no question, when we do it, is it perfect? No, but it's the way we do it, which is perfect, right? And so that's just the way that it is. We resist. I'm the only one who can do it exactly right. I need to do it myself. Remember, you got where you got because you did it well. But if you keep doing everything perfectly, what can you not do? You can't do anything else, right? Because you've kept that thing. So there's a perfectionism piece of it that, listen, you want it done right. We all want it done right. But perfectionism can hold us back. Second thing is speed. It's quicker to do it myself than to show somebody else. It's just quicker. It's speed. It's a speed thing. We need more time. I don't have time to show somebody. It's just easier if I do it. So let me ask you this question. Who loses if you just keep doing it? Who loses? We lose. Who else loses? Everybody on your team. So how many of you worked for somebody who delegated something to you that you were able to do that they could have done, but you learned through them delegating to you? Raise your hand, all right? So we know that it works, but we feel like there's a responsibility factor when we get there. Well, I'm the leader now, I've got to keep doing it. I've got to keep my hands in it. So I'm either a perfectionist or it's a speed issue, or third, it's just a lack of trust. I don't trust the people around me that they'll get it done. What's the problem with that? What's the problem if there's a lack of trust? What would y'all say? That's right, you're not encouraging the people. What else?
It's a lack of leadership on your part.
Yeah, it's a lack of leadership on my part. So if I don't trust them, that may mean I hadn't hired well, right? Which that's a flaw, right? I haven't hired well, or I have got such issues with I'm the best person to do the job. You can't do it like me, which means they are only going to grow to your level of allowing them to do, right? That's why John Maxwell says, if you're a leader that doesn't delegate, you're probably a 5 or 6 leader. That means you'll have 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s working for you. If you're a level 10 leader, the highest, you have 9s, 8s, and 7s working for you because they have ability to grow. So there's perfectionism, there's speed, there's lack of trust. How easy would it have been for Nehemiah to go, guys, I've got the vision. Here's the deal. Oh, don't miss this in the story. God did not give this vision to all the people. He gave it to Nehemiah, and Nehemiah gave it to all the people. So God didn't wake people up in the city of Jerusalem going, you need to fix your walls. They were all sound asleep. They were used to living there. Nehemiah shows up, our last time, he investigates, he looks around and goes, we got to fix these walls. And remember, he went out at night. Nobody knew he was out. And then the next day he said, we must rebuild these walls. And everybody went, I'm in on Nehemiah's vision. That was not God to them. It was God to Nehemiah to them. It would have been so easy for Nehemiah to go, guys, God's given me the vision. Let me go accomplish it. Could Nehemiah in 52 days built a 90-acre wall? Yes or no? Impossible. He would have gotten one wall up and gone, well, God didn't come through. No, Nehemiah understood. How he understood it, I have no idea. Maybe there was a modern day John Maxwell back then. I have no idea, but Nehemiah got it, right? He just understood there are some things that I can't do, but I am going to allow this to do what I can do. All right, we're going to talk about that. I love what Rick Warren said. We get tense when we feel it all depends on us. Jesus enlisted 12 disciples. Don't allow perfectionism or the fear that others may do a better job to keep us from involving others in the task. Okay, let's just talk about this real quick. Somebody tell me about Jesus 12. With their ragtag, what else? Did you feel really good leaving the whole gospel with these guys? I mean, you just gave up your life and you're leaving it with these guys, but yet Jesus knew it had to happen that way. It had to happen that way. So where do we start? Number 1, focus on our top priorities. Focus on our top priorities. Nehemiah's top priority was to make sure Jerusalem was safe and that God got the glory. That was his top priority. Number 1 above all others. Jerusalem was safe and God got the glory from it. What's your top priority? I want you to just think about it for a second, right where you are. What is the thing in your organization you can do, nobody else can do? I want you to think about that. What can you accomplish nobody else in your group can accomplish? Make that your top priority. And if you go, Mike, I don't know the answer to that, that's something you need to know. That's an answer that you and I need to come up with of why, it's really the why we're there, right? It's the ultimate why we're there. Nobody, I'll tell you this, just overarching, nobody else can cast vision for an organization like the leader, number one. The leader's got to get it. Number two, most likely nobody's going to care for the organization like you're going to care for it. Number three, you're the culture keeper, right? You are the holder of culture. Speed of the leader, speed of the team. How hot's the organization? Stick a thermometer in the leader's mouth and you'll find out how hot the organization is. You've got to take care, we've got to take care of our top priorities. The reality is we could do everything probably that others do, but the problem is if we do all those other things, there's things that need to get done that only we can do that don't get done. Does that make sense to everybody? Nehemiah got it. How he got it, I don't know, but Nehemiah figured that out. Number two, ask, what do I do that no one else can do or should do? What can I do that no one else can do or should do? So I'd love to hear from a principal. What is something a principal can do that nobody else in your school can do? What would y'all say? We got a few of y'all in the room. I feel weird calling on a principal, but anyways, so what's something a principal can do nobody else can do? Yep, vision, casting vision for the school. All right, what else can a principal do that nobody else in the organization can do?
Keep the camaraderie between everybody.
The peacekeeper, right? Keeps it. People don't get along sometimes, all right? They're a peacekeeper, right? All right, let's talk in the business world. What's something a leader of a business can do that nobody else can do? Set the culture. They're culture setters. It doesn't matter what field we're in. Ladies and gentlemen, leadership is leadership. All the way back to script. Isn't it amazing? This could have been written last week. This is like a class Nehemiah gave us because leadership doesn't change. What can I do? All right, I want you to write down 2 questions under that. What do I love to do that nobody else can do and makes an impact? All right. What do I love to do that nobody else can do and makes an impact? Question 2, what things are keeping me from doing that? What things are keeping me from doing that? What can I do nobody else can do that makes an impact? And what things are keeping me from doing that? That struggle is one of the hardest tensions because that means I'm going to have to do what? What am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to delegate. I'm going to have to I want you to write down the 2 words, let go. I'm going to have to let go. And letting go is scary. Letting go is not fun. I will say this because a lot of our staff's in here. I struggle with this for years because for the first 6 years of North Star, I had my hands literally, we've got some original North Star Day people, my hands were in everything. Like I remember people's emails because I entered them into the database. I remember weird stuff. I remember people's phone numbers because I entered them in. I don't know anybody's phone number now, right? Not even half of my kids, but I remember those numbers because I entered them all in. I did everything. When my role changed, my struggle was I wanted to keep doing everything and I felt responsible to keep doing everything because I'd done it before. Not that I didn't think other people could do it better. I just felt bad giving it to anybody. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, that was a struggle that I had, and I had to reach the point, what can I do that maybe nobody else on our team can do? Number 3, once I find my sweet spot, stay there. Everything else, dump it or delegate it. Dump it meaning I don't need to be doing it anymore. Nobody needs to be doing it. Tim Elmore would say, and Mark Miller would say, give it a funeral. What are you doing that you need to give a funeral? What doesn't need to be done anymore? But other things, somebody else can do it. Now here's the hard part. Everybody look at me. And they may do it better. Which tests our what? Our confidence. What else does it test? Our pride. When we see, let's talk about this for a second. When we see somebody do something better from us, what can it do to a leader? It exposes insecurity.
It builds fear into people because if somebody else does something better to them, they're afraid that person might take their job or their position.
All right, everybody catch that? If somebody else does something better than them, there is a fear that they may take their position one day. All right? All honesty in this room. How many of y'all have had that fear before? Don't leave me alone. All right? And so I've had that fear. It goes through all of our minds. But who loses if we don't? We do, and the team does. Every time. Every time. God has put you where he's put you. I don't want you to miss this. For a reason bigger than you. Most of us, there probably should be somebody else sitting in our seat. I ended up in mine because of just the Lord and his goodness, because they did not check my GPA or my transcripts, all right? And so there's a lot of things I didn't check. God wanted me here for this time and season, right? He wanted you where you're at for this time and season. So here's a question I want you to talk about at your table. Write down this key reminder, and then we'll get to our table talk. As the workload increases, the wise leader doesn't get busier, he gets smarter and asks for help. Our tendency is to keep piling on things and not take anything away. Dwight Moody said he'd rather put 1,000 men to work than do the work of 1,000 men. So here's what I want you to talk about at your table. 3 minutes. What do you fear when you think about delegating? What do you fear? What's the fear that settles inside you when you think about delegating? 3 minutes, talk at your tables. All right. Let me hear from you guys real quick. What were some fears that came out at your tables? What's a fear of delegating that came out at your tables? Failure? Yep. What else? Being replaced. Good, Rob. What else? Seeing it done wrong. Anybody else? Lack of quality. Very good.
We talked a lot about relationships because, we were kind of talking about within the school, it's very interwoven.
Yep.
Now you've got to worry because now it's also an issue of relationship if that person can't follow through or whatever you need them to do.
That's really good. Today this was such a great topic. My scope is so limited in what I do. I wanted to bring up two people, and these are two Lunch with a Leader regulars, but they're on top of that amazing leaders in our community. We've got Megan Strange, who is the upper school principal at North Cobb Christian, been there 17 years. And we've got Dr. George Manners, who was at Kennesaw State for 20 years in the MBA school and the business school. He was also at the James River Corporation for 10 years and in private business before that. So would y'all welcome them up to the stage today? So this is to the both of you. As you both grew in leadership, how difficult was learning to delegate? What would y'all say?
I think that's been a hard one. Actually, when you were talking about when you came into your role at North Star, it kind of reminded me a lot of my opportunities that I've had at North Cobb Christian. A lot of principals, I see Nathan Stark right over there, a lot of principals, when you talk to them about, kind of their journey to becoming a principal, they were a teacher for a really long time, and I wasn't. I've taught a lot of things over the years, but just due to a set of circumstances where the Lord provided some opportunities, I hadn't been a long-time teacher when I became the principal. And so sometimes early on, my fear of delegating was at some point they're going to realize I'm kind of a fake. Like, they're going to figure me out. So I need to pretend like I have it all together, until they think maybe I do. So early on, that was the fear in delegating. And that just about totally burned me out, Try and do everything yourself for a little period of time and see where that leads. It's not a good place.
That's good. How about you, Dr. Manners?
Well, I was a staff guy in James River. I had R&D, I had engineering, I had IT, environmental affairs, and I was better at all this stuff than anybody else. So I kept an awful lot of things bottled up until I just got overwhelmed. And I finally started understanding there's certain assumptions you got to make about people. You have to believe people are intelligent, people are responsible, people are creative, and people care. If you believe those things, sometimes you're going to be disappointed. Sometimes very disappointed. But sooner or later, you have to embrace those beliefs. If you believe people are irresponsible, stupid, dull, and don't give a damn, guess what you're going to get? An irresponsible, stupid, dull, and don't give a damn organization.
That's good. So well said. I couldn't say that. That was very well said. That was very nice. I appreciate that. Very nice. All cars go to Sam Jones Methodist in Cartersville. Right. So I want to follow up on that. Let's say a leader does feel that way, and they make that assumption. What will become the culture of an organization that a leader never delegates? They just do it. They're like, I can do it better. I'm just going. What becomes a culture in an organization like that? What would y'all say?
Becomes a culture where there is no trust. It becomes a culture where people are really unwilling to have conflict. It becomes a culture where people really do not want to accept accountability. You get the point.
Yep.
We hoard everything when that exists.
I know the buzzword these days is having a growth mindset. You know, you go into an interview and people are like, you know, do you have a growth mindset? I don't know how many people are like, no, I'm very closed-minded. You're probably not going to want me in this role. But everybody talks about a growth mindset. But if you're leading your organization and you're never investing in people and you're never giving them meaningful things to do, they're never going to grow, which ultimately means, like the flowers in the garden at my house, I'm not good at watering them, that they eventually just die. And they become, like George said, they become resentful or bitter or those types of things. But I think that also what happens, particularly when you're talking about it from a Christian leadership context, is I think that's where the leader has such a misplaced perspective on what God has trusted you with. Colossians 1:17 says, He, meaning Jesus, is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. So if I'm leading the group that God has trusted me with, and I don't give them things to do, then it shows that I don't believe that verse. Because if I don't give them things to do, that means that Megan is before all things, and Megan holds all things together, which also isn't going to lead to a good end for anyone. So your organization is quickly going to die. People are going to become apathetic, and they're going to use your internet at your office to look for other jobs. So, yeah.
That's comforting. That makes you feel a lot better about life, doesn't it? So as Dr. Mannings, you work with all kinds of companies through the years. You worked in the executive MBA program there at KSU, working in particularly family business, right? How prevalent is this, even in a family business, as a founder has this, they're the Nehemiah, they saw the wall, they laid the footings, how prevalent is this? What would you say?
Let's talk about Chick-fil-A. Did Truett do this? I would say Truett manifested certain things. The first thing he manifested was he kept his eyes and ears fundamentally outside the organization. On customers, suppliers, competitors. I think the guy was born believing in radical decentralization, pushing decision-making down as far as it would logically go. Maybe he wanted to stop at Andy, but as far as it would logically go. But here's the key, and I think you realize that most people don't think this way. He believed in I'm much more certain about you if I want you to take a risk and not comply with my wishes. I want initiative over compliance. And the final thing I saw in Truett was he believed in self-control, not his control. Jimmy Collins and I had long chats about that one time. But if you take those four things that you need to have a culture of delegation, dang few people have it.
Yeah. Megan, do you ever feel like, I mean, you've been doing this 17 years, you've been at North Carolina Christian, you've been in your role less. Do you still struggle with it? Do you consciously still have to think about it? Or is it more set in a pattern for you now?
Well, it's great to have a few of my colleagues that are here today, so they're going to keep me honest. There's seasons where you feel like, I'm going to keep this and do it my way, when truly it's because I like my way of doing it. Yeah. But you can justify it because you can say, well, other people are busy, so I'll just do it myself instead of asking them to do it. But at North Cap Christian, we are so blessed to have experienced just a lot of growth over the last few years, a number of different factors. But one thing in particular I would point to is that we have let more people step into what God has created them to do and what God has created them to bring to our school. And so one thing I have loved about the school the last few years is most of the things that people either within our school community or in the greater community are super excited about and they're talking about, I really had very little to do with that. Really, I view my job as much as possible removing barriers so the faculty and staff can run with some of those great ideas that they have. And sometimes it means doing unique things for people on your team who have those types of gifts. It means that sometimes not everybody has the same schedule. Not everybody has to do this or has to do that. And that's kind of a new mindset in organizations these days. Used to, you want to be real careful. It's going to come across not fair. And that's Andy Stanley's, do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. And it's been a lot of fun to see some of our teachers, some of our staff, a lot of our students grab hold of some things that, maybe the way they do it is different than I would have, and the different ultimately ends up being better. And I'm grateful.
It's so interesting, and I want you to write this down, and we're going to dive in the finish of our notes. These guys are going to stay up here with me. Write this thought down. You will always have to make a choice with delegation. I don't think you ever hit autopilot to where you don't. If you hit autopilot, you've quit leading. Right? You're just emptying your hands so you can play golf or do whatever. But as long as you're still leading, every time you delegate something, you are taking the opportunity to do something new. Right? A new vision, a new endeavor, a new thing. And you'll always, I believe in the brain of every leader, it's a conscious decision. I'm going to raise up who's coming after me. Delegation is the greatest picture of leadership of everything, because you're raising up people that can do it and may do it better than you. How do I equip people? Ready? Number one, tell people what I want them to do. So I would write under that, be clear. Don't assume they know. So we were just having a conversation with a good friend earlier. I want you to write these two words down. Unmet expectations. Dr. Manners, what happens in an organization for a leader when they haven't told somebody what to do? What can unmet expectations cause?
Unmet achievement.
It's true.
Let me suggest a book, because what he's rolling out, I've already seen it. How many people in here have read Turn the Ship Around?
Phenomenal.
See what you learn when you come to lunch with a leader? Write that down. Turn the ship around. David Marquette was given the worst performing submarine in the entire American fleet. He didn't get to pick new people. In 2 years, he turned that ship into the top performing ship. 3 things he focused on: control, meaning turning loose of control, clarity, and competence. If you focus on those 3 things, delegation becomes almost cultural. Excuse me for talking so long.
No, that's good. Listen, everybody's glad. All right, so very, very good. The clarity of telling people they can't catch a vision they don't understand. And the way something gets done right is when somebody has it's not a task. It's something bigger than that. Number 2, show them how. Show them how. And I want to talk about this, and Megan, I'd love to hear from you on this. Telling is not the same as training. Show them.
Competence.
Why do we feel weird showing somebody who's in a job and we're being that clear, we're showing them how? Why do we feel funny as a leader about that?
I think just because, people have different learning styles. And so some people you can tell them, you need to do this. And some people you truly need to show them. And I think sometimes we feel silly because maybe we're not entirely sure which of those they are. But I have found that there's really not anyone who doesn't benefit from taking that extra step of showing them. But I think then what you've done by the telling and the showing is you've put the boulders in place. These are the things that have to be a part of this. Past this is where we have room for your ideas and for your dreaming and things like that. You can make it a lot better. These are the key pieces I need this to ultimately end up with. You make it better. Good. I think that's what you can do by showing.
That's really good. Number 3, let them do it. Let them do it. So I was thinking about this morning. Anna will remember this. Back in the day, when I was a student pastor, we would take kids. Basically we kept kids busy all the time. And so we'd take them to play Mount Asia, play putt-putt. We took up $3, I remember it distinctly, $3 a kid. So we sat there, and so I got the vans, I gassed the vans, I parked the vans, and I'm taking up money. This is great leadership, all right? And so I'm taking up money, I'm sitting there at the table, taking up money, checking the kids in. And one of our students, she was a junior in high school, came up to me and she said, Mike, I would love to do that for you. And I said, you're a junior in high school. I mean, I can't allow you to take up $3. I mean, it's not allowed here. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. And she said this, I close the cash register at Chick-fil-A at the mall every night and count out the money. I think I can handle $3. I was like, well, I'll let you do it. And guess what she did? She did a great job. In fact, she did so great, I let her do all kinds of other things because she was free. All right, and so it's very important. Let them do it. Yes. So I want you to write this little thought, and it may be in your outline. Listening is not the same as learning. There's no substitute for hands-on experience. Mm-hmm. Bring them with you and let them do it. We can't rate, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're in your 20s or your 60s, or you're with me in the 50s or 40s or 30s, wherever we're at, there's gonna be a day you're not gonna be doing your job. Somebody's gonna sit in your chair. Who's gonna sit there and take it to the next level if we don't allow somebody else to do it? Number 4, observe their performance. And I wanna talk about this for a second. Don't leave them on an island observing. Dr. Manners, why is it so important? And what does it tell the person we've delegated to if we observe their performance? What does it tell them intrinsically?
I'm watching. I'm delegating, I'm not abdicating.
That's right. That's right. And it tells that you watched, it tells you care. You care about them. You're pulling for them. Write them a note, give them an attaboy. People love to be praised. And when you can reward something they've done, changes everything. Ronald Reagan used to always say, trust but verify, right? Trust them, turn it over to them, just make sure it got done. Number 5, praise their progress. What gets rewarded gets repeated. Megan, when you were coming up as a young leader, when somebody praised your progress, what did it do for you?
Just made me want to do more, to please them more, and to increase their trust. I know playing sports in high school, I think of some of the things that my coaches invited me to do. Something silly, I played softball in high school, and my senior year I had a free period, and my coach was a little overwhelmed, and one day he invited me to line the field, which if you've ever done that before, that's just like a really terrible task. But he asked me to do that, and I knew that was like a really big deal. Like the lines have to be straight, and so I took that very, very serious. Well, he was really impressed. He invited me to do that again for the whole rest of the season. So he got out of that, but I think that for me helped me to see that difference between actually delegating meaningful things and busy work. You know, I think particularly, I'm thinking I've got Thomas right here that graduated from North Cap Christian. You can ask any high school student the difference between busy work and meaningful work. And the people that are on our teams can tell that too. Are you just dumping this because you don't want to do this? Or are you inviting me to be a part of this because it's meaningful and you believe that I can make it better? And that's actually one thing, just working with high school students all day, every day. They want to rise to the occasion for things that matter.
It's so interesting. It's the first time we've ever had lunch with a leader we didn't read the passage. Because all Nehemiah chapter 3 is names and tasks. The whole chapter. 38 individual workers named in the chapter. Nehemiah talked about everybody but who?
Nehemiah.
He didn't talk about Nehemiah. How easy would it have been to have gone, look who did. And once we say that, the organization's changed. Nehemiah rewarded those who did the task. He praised their progress so much, we're reading about it thousands of years later. Who knows that the next great world changer is not in your organization right now? Who knows that the next person to lead your organization is not with you right now? Pray for the Lord to give you wisdom. Pray for the Lord to show you, and you keep raising that lid and keep growing leaders in it, and we'll become the leaders God created us to be. Let's pray. Father, thanks so much for Megan. Thanks so much for Dr. Manners today. God, just for the leaders, they're up here because of the leaders they are and continue to be. Father, may we leave this place today and go in the spaces and the places and the lives that we all lead. Father, may we go there and lead like you. And God, we want to raise the spiritual temperature of our community one leader at a time. And God, may we do that today through delegating. May we do that today through saying, God, grow me so I can grow others. And Father, if we do that, we'll become the people you created us to be. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen. All right, I want you to write one date down and we're walking out the door. August the 29th. We will kick back off fall 2022, August 29. We will not meet June and July. Still visit your local Chick-fil-A, but June and July we will not meet. We will crank back up in August. Would y'all join me today and thank Andy and his team and all the people that make this happen? Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here.